Hey, what's going on, Turbo Speedsters? It's your boy, Coach Chris Turbo, aka Mr. Turbo Speed, aka Coach Chris Burris. And I wanted to thank you all for stopping by my channel. So if you're new, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and then do your coach a favor and turbo smack that like button and power punch that notification button so that you can take advantage of all my coaching, training, speed enhancing videos here on YouTube. So today's video, we will be looking at deadlifts for improving your sprinter acceleration phase. Let's get into it. Alright, Turbo Speedsters, so today's video we will be looking at deadlifts to increase your sprinter speed, specifically targeting your acceleration phase. This is your drive phase. This is that 0 to 60 meter mark when you're coming out of the block. So today's video agenda will include the benefits of deadlifts for acceleration, the best deadlift variations for acceleration, and basic programming for deadlifts to boost your acceleration as a sprinter. The purpose of this video is to provide key concepts regarding deadlifts for increasing sprinter speed, specifically targeting the deadlift phase of your race. The scope of this video will include proper programming methodologies, and the audience of this video is intended for coaches, athletes, parents of athletes, and anyone who wants to increase their athletic performance as it correlates to sprinter speed or speed increases in general. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into this. So, deadlifts to increase sprinter speed, focusing on acceleration phase. So, benefits of deadlifts for accelerations. Alright, so we have deadlifts are going to improve your maximal strength. Okay, they're going to improve your absolute strength. They're going to improve your maximal power output. We know that as athletes, the more force an athlete can produce back into the ground, the faster they're going to run, right? You're going to be able to propel yourself horizontally and thrust yourself vertically. It's going to increase your stride rate, your stride frequency, and stride length. Okay, we know that. Now when we talk about specifics towards the acceleration phase, what is the acceleration phase? It's one, starting strength. You come up into a set isometric hold, set, and you hold it. That's a starting strength. You're at a static hold, and then you, boom, you shoot out. Boom, you shoot out. Okay? Deadlifts can increase that power, that velocity, that strength, that maximal strength and maximum power. Okay? Deadlifts are going to be multi-joint movements. So I always hit on this in every video that basically you want to be doing multi-joint movements as your base, fundamental movements in the weight room, regardless of your sport. And the reason being is because not one muscle, whenever you're doing an athletic activity, is going to be doing all the work. So it's, you want to choose multi-joint movements for your workout programs in the weight room because it directly correlates to your actual movement on the track, the court, or the field. Right, so deadlifts for acceleration are going to be multi-joint movements that are going to be directly correlated and trained in the weight room to apply that methodology, that strength, that power, that force back on the track for sprinting. All right. Deadlifts for acceleration are going to build total body functionalities. It goes right back into multi-joints. So deadlifts are going to work literally every single muscle fiber in your body. It's just the nature of that type of lifting. And essentially that's why they call it the king of all exercises, because it works everything, right? You're going to see some increases in your neural adaptations to your anaerobic system. Anaerobic system being, broken down into your alactic and your fast glycolytic system, the ATP phosphagen system. That's that anything, that very, very high explosive movement and energy, and where that comes from inside your body. Okay, so for deadlifting for acceleration and proper programming, you're going to be able to create those neural connections so that your mind is connecting new muscle fibers to motor neurons, basically, and you're able to fire off real quick, real fast, be more explosive, and that's that power generation, rate of force development that we talk about. And then again, you're going to increase your energy system response times, energy system adaptations, and you're working that ATP phosphagen, that fast glycolytic that overall lactic system and overall anaerobic system, okay? The other things that are benefits of deadlift basically is that deadlifts are hip hinging, all right? And deadlifts are going to breed a lot of power from the hips, and I'm a big believer in that when it comes to running fast, being explosive, just being overall better in speed categories overall, deadlifts should be incorporated into any weightlifting program because they give you deadlifting power, and that translates directly into how fast you're going to run, regardless of if you're doing very specific movements with deadlifts incorporated or just deadlifts in general. So I'm a big fan of that. The next thing we want to take a look at is how you can incorporate deadlifts into your weightlifting program to specifically target acceleration. All right, so the best deadlift variations for acceleration. Essentially, you have your standard deadlift, okay, straight bar deadlift. I love the straight bar deadlift. I prefer it over the trap. I think it's a little bit more posterior chain dominant, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about now. So why the deadlift and why you want to do it for acceleration is posterior chain dominant and more, right? So it's going to work your glutes, it's going to work your hams, it's going to work your lower back, your lats, your rear delts. It's going to give you an amazing core, right? It's going to work your hips, specifically your triceps, your traps, your calves. It's going to hit multiple joints and multiple tendons, okay? And if you're doing these religiously and you're doing them consistently throughout your weightlifting program, not only is it beneficial for you as in general practicality, but for acceleration purposes, we're going to get into it, but for acceleration purposes, it's the biggest bang for your buck as far as the big compound movements, I guess you could say, right? So the different variations, you have your straight bar, you have your sumo squats, your sumo deadlifts, you have your trap bar deadlifts, you have your close grip deadlifts, narrow deadlifts, your stance, you have your dumb bar deadlifts, you have your dumbbell deadlifts, you have your single leg deadlifts, you have your staggered start deadlifts, and there's a lot of different variations that you can do, but the best that I've seen that is going to increase your acceleration as a sprinter, you should be focusing on the straight bar standard deadlift, okay? You should be focused on the staggered variation, the staggered stance variation. You should be focusing on your Roman deadlifts, the RDLs, and you should be focusing on your stiff leg deadlifts as well. So kind of going back into why deadlifts are one of the best exercises you can do for increasing your acceleration is triple extension. We talk about triple extension if you're in the drive phase, if you have a good coach who knows what they're talking about. Triple extension basically is going to be a straight line perpendicular down like this. So this is your head, your hips, your ankles. It kind of gets a little bit more complicated that for me. We want to look at the heads, the shoulder, the hips, the knees, and the ankles. And we want to be in a perfect straight line from head all the way through the ground, and a proper acceleration phase and a proper acceleration and drive phase out the blocks, a 3-point start, a 2-point start, falling start, toe touch start, stuff like that, right? So deadlift, if trained correctly, is going to be able to give you the attributes physically so that you can hit these proper triple extension acceleration cues, basically, from a body and biomechanical standpoint. The last thing as to why you should be doing deadlifts for acceleration specifically is because, again, it's hip hinging, right? Sprinting starts at the hips, regardless, right? So it's superior, or deadlifts are superior than squats. Squats are going to be knee hinging and knee flexing. Deadlifts are going to be hip hinging. You're coming up here, coming down, coming up, coming here, coming down, right? That starts from the hips. Think about it from a sprinting standpoint. How do you engage your body to start to drive your knee up? It starts from the hip. So you drive it up there. That's from the hip, right? How do you drive it back? From the hip. It doesn't start at your knee. You're not going to kick out into a flexion or an extension. You're coming straight from the hip, back down. It's straight from the hip, right? So it's hip hinging. The exercise deadlift is going to be able to target that hip motion. I'm going to have hip drive. I'm going to have hip activation. It's hip dominant, okay? You're going to be focusing so much on your hips, depending on your training phase, that when it comes time to take what you're running in the weight room and correlating it back on the track, you're going to be more efficient. you're gonna have more power output, you're gonna have a higher rate of force development, okay? And again, all of that correlates back to how do you run fast? You apply more force back into the ground, and you do that from one, proper technique, two, having strong, powerful muscles that can contract from a neural adaptation that you obtain in the weight room by specifically working your anaerobic system and making sure that you're hitting these cues here and cues for triple extension. It's very simple. A lot of coaches want to make it extremely complicated, but it's not that complicated. An acronym I use, KISS, keep it super simple, all right? So, turbo speedsters, that's a lot of information. Absorb all that, and let's roll into practical application and how you should be programming deadlifts into your program for acceleration and increasing your acceleration. All right. So, basic programming techniques that I use, that I've used personally to take my times way down from becoming a nobody to winning championships in NCAA. Right. So, what you do is you want to focus all on strength and power, right? There's a concept called post-activation potentiation that you want to kind of implement after a general preparation phase where you're more of focusing on strength development, basic strength development, maximal power, and rate of force development, okay? So take that into consideration. I'm not talking about muscle building, muscle size, hypertrophy, right? We're not talking about that. We're not talking about super high volume. This is very quality work that is very specific towards gearing your body for success in your acceleration phase, and then pushing that out into the track once you leave the weight room, okay? So, basic programming. To start, you want to do 3 to 5 sets at 3 to 5 reps at 80 to 85% of your 1 rep max of a standard deadlift, okay? Grossing weight on the bar, 80 to 85% of your 1 rep max. You're going to do 3 to 5 sets, 3 to 5 reps. Your focus is going to be on maximal strength, okay? Maximal power reinforcement, right? And you're going to take optimal rest because you want to be working an anaerobic system, okay? So optimal rest is going to be anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, 3 to 6 minutes, depending on the athlete, right? And then how you incorporate that into building speed and power generation is you're going to couple that with 3 to 5 sets plus 6 to 8 reps at 10 through 40% of your 1 rep max for a speed deadlift. Speed deadlift is a variation of the deadlift that obviously correlates for speed. So we're going to get to the deadlift form and speed deadlift as fast as you possibly go with the bar loaded at 10 to 40% of the max. Each one of these intensity load percentages are correlated to 85 to 85%. We know that that's the max, the best optimal range for building strength and building power. So 10 to 40% of the 1 rep max is correlated and directly linked to the optimal range for building speed and power generation. Okay, so taking that into consideration, what that would look like would be you do a set of traditional standard deadlift at 85% of your 1 rep max for 5 reps, 3 by 5, right? As soon as you get done with your set, you go right into another bar that you've already loaded up, wasting no time to jump from the heavy to the 20% of the 1 rep max into a speed deadlift. Fast as you can possibly go, right? Then you take a rest. That would be considered 1 set, okay? You get through all of that, so you worked on your maximal strength, maximal power, you work on your speed and power generation, rate of force development. Then you go into your single joint movements to kind of finish out your workout, all right? And the goal here is to focus on strength, not size, right? So we know to build muscle, to build hypertrophy is going to be anywhere from 10 to 12 reps is the optimal rep range at anywhere between 70 to 75%, 77% of your 1 rep max will be the biggest bang for your buck for hypertrophy. So in your auxiliary lifts, you can still focus on things like dumbbell work, so dumbbell lifts, bicep curls, jump squats with the dumbbells, dumbbell deadlifts, shoulder press, trap stuff, triceps, biceps, stuff like that. And then you want to work on your machines, okay? Assisted machines, right? They're going to help you a little bit, be able to load them up a little bit more. But again, the intensity and how, if you don't really know your 1 rep max for like a machine, just say that it should be relatively heavy. So by the time you get to your last sets of that rep, or the last sets and your last reps, you should be tired, but not super tired, right? So the rep ranges are going to be anywhere from 3 to 5 sets, and then 6 to 8 reps. So we know 6 to 8 reps is optimal for strength gains that are outside of big lifts, multi-joint lifts like deadlift, squat, power clean, hang clean, stuff like that. So take this information, start correlating it back into the weight room. The more specific that you get here, picking the variations, picking the different style of lifting that you're going to be implementing, eccentric movements, concentric movements, isometric movements, versus single joint movements and trying to use dumbbells for everything to get stronger in the weight room. You want to focus on your rep ranges, you want to focus on your rest, you want to focus on your intensity, your loads on the bars, and making sure that you're getting optimal rest, okay? Rest is the key, all right? So to put that all into perspective, in my thought process and philosophy on weight room training for acceleration using deadlifts is that you shouldn't be doing anything in the weight room that's not going to benefit you on a track, okay? So deadlifts are going to benefit you 100%, guaranteeing that you are going to get stronger. Stronger equals more force application. Force application is going to make you be able to apply force back to the ground and thrust you horizontally and propel you vertically so that you are running faster to increase your stride length, stride frequency, and stride rate. All right. So, Turbo Speedsters, if you found value in this video, go ahead and don't forget to subscribe, and then do your coach a favor and turbo smack that like button and power punch that notification bell so that you can take advantage of all my coaching, training, speed enhancing videos here on YouTube. And like I always say, Turbo Speedsters, don't go fast, go turbo.